Okay, so we'll start now. It's already
All
time.
right.
I'll just give a brief introduction of yours and then request you
Oh,
to
yeah.
deliver.
Perfect.
Welcome to the 10th session of International Certificate Program on Human Resource Management for Excellence. Today's session on HR Scorecard will be delivered by eminent speaker Mr. T.S. Babu. I request all the participants to please mute their audio and video throughout the session and please do not access the present screen option. I am again requesting all the participants to please keep their audio and video at mute. Mr. T.S. Babu is one of the top HR leaders who has rendered over 3 decades of highly accomplished stints in the manufacturing projects, IT, and ITES sectors. Having started his career with BHEL, he had several impacting leadership assignments at Lanco Group, Larsen and Toubro, SPI Tech, Manila, etc. He is presently Senior Vice President at Bio4 Pharmaceuticals and is responsible for human capital and organizational transformation. With a master's in HR, he has done a PG diploma in training and development from the Indian Society for Training and Development and a degree in law. He is a certified leadership coach, certified PCMM assessor, certified lean management champion, certified strategy aligned balance scorecard assessor, etc. His area of expertise are HR strategy planning, leadership coaching to CEOs and corporate leaders, organizing capacity building programs, organization design and restructuring, business process reengineering, talent retention, and employer brand building. He has received many prestigious awards and recognitions like NHRD Inspire Award 2011 and 2012, Third Vishwakarma Award in 2011 by Planning Commission Government of India. We welcome you, sir, to this August platform.
Thank you, Dr. Smariki, and good afternoon, good morning, good evening, participants from whichever part of the globe you are. Welcome you to the session. Okay, so the topic assigned to me was HR scorecard. All right, so if I would just go, typically had it been a university program, they would just run theoretically, what are the basics and concepts behind that and why it is there and objectives and stuff and all that. But I would like to give a professional or a practitioner's perspective, because as it is, HR scorecard does not create much of an interest. So I'll take you through why this is needed and how you guys have to, must and should adopt and practice this. All right. Most organizations, a few of you might disagree with me, but in most organizations, articulated or not, this is what the perception is about HR. And sometime back there was a publication in the Harvard Business Review, and it was why do people love to hate HR? I think that's one thing that you shouldn't miss. All right, so we'll take this as a premise. Okay, so these are the normal things that we hear, not on the face, because employees don't have the guts to come and say, what do you do and kind of things, but they definitely talk behind. It could be mostly employees, or it could be some peers, it could be other functions and all of that. But this is typically because most of us, we get lost in the kind of volume of work that we have in managing processes, whether it's talent acquisition or comp and ben kind of processes, and some statutory compliance and all of that, and the day is gone, and the day after day and months and years pass on, and the end of the year, even if you make a conscious inquiry, what have I contributed, you would boast about the volumes of hires or managing the talent management kind of an areas. But concretely, what is that incremental business value that you have given? Have you made, if there are questions to you, like have you made your organization more competitive in the marketplace? And how have you contributed to creating incremental shareholder value? If there are questions like this, then we really have to cut a sorry face. Which is why, my friends, HR scorecard actually, well, even if it's implemented or not implemented in your organization, I guess in most of your organizations, you definitely have a strategy aligned balanced scorecard. But if there are not, I would strongly recommend that you prepare your own scorecard and work on that, because that will be a guide to you, giving you a direction on where you should be headed. And if you go by the scorecard direction and the various KPIs and that, and work on them, you'll get to know what's good happening, what's not happening, what are the things to do, instead of getting stuck in the processes. This will definitely give you enable you to surge ahead and make your organization mature, and you get a real kind of a fulfillment at the end of the year. So HR scorecard basically makes you accountable for the deliverables, and deliverables not just at a process level, but at a business level, creating that incremental business value. All right. I would have loved to have a classroom session with you guys to have interactions at each and every slide, but since we are on a virtual mode, this is going to be a little difficult that way. But definitely, I'll keep open, a half an hour or a little more for a Q&A session when we can. So if you have questions, kindly jot down or keep them in the top of your minds, which you could, throw them on me, and we'll try to have a good interaction on that. All right. So let's try to understand, what are these hate perceptions? Why do people hate? Because we don't like to be hated, right? No human being would like to get hated. So because why I'm showing you these is, this is a little away if you think from the scorecard. It's not, because we are going to figure out what are those opportunities for improvement. And if you're convinced about it, you can write them down in your personal scorecard. I mean a professional scorecard. So the first thing is that HR is like a biggie in the organization, or they feel like that. In my days, I'm kind of 37 years into the profession, into the all through HR, and in the initial years, it used to be the personnel kind of a officer and manager and all that. So right from those days, factory, the HR guys comes in, he would expect everybody to salute. Okay, those days are gone, but the ego of a HR guy is still there. Don't take me wrong, I'm not being critical. I'm only trying to evoke, so that you have a conscious call, you'll have an interaction with your own soul, and figure out, okay, is it really, am I also doing this? Should I change myself? So I'm only trying to give some reflection. All right. So you got to be, HR guys, very approachable and amiable. All right. Every time. Because, I'm actually trying to write a book, and there's so much on the inclusion, engagement, love, leadership, all this high performance culture, all of that. That's one big area in every organization, which if very effectively managed would enhance the productivity by leaps and bounds. But nobody cares about it. The CEO, who should actually be leading this kind of initiative, he gets stuck with his own numbers, and HR is stuck with the people side, the people process side, in recruiting people, in managing their salaries and kind of things, and increments and confirmations and all of that. But the leave management, the benefit administration, all of that, so much that's a totally neglected area. So ideally, what I would be recommending in the book that I'm writing is that HR should be the next powerful guy in the organization. I mean, not to really enjoy some power thing, but he should be a co-driver along with the CEO in driving this will side in the organization. You know, there's a skill side and the will side, right? In performance, I'm talking about the will side, because I always feel that if a human being could perform at kind of 140% of his potential, if he's really motivated, and if in global surveys, I always keep telling that we only kind of 25% engaged and the rest are not, which means that overall, if you look at some aggregation, only 50–60% would be, you know, kind of significant. Perhaps 50% is something that people will keep their heart at work and will be working on it. So this is one big thing. So at the end of it, guys, tell you, if you have to be great HR leaders, and you know, it's not about aspiring to sit in a boardroom as much as building legacies, and you should deserve that position, because you know, some 15 years back, I was in the CII's HR Council, and all my peers, you know, the other members of the council would say, "Hey guys, when are we going to go into the boardroom?" So it's not just about programming and planning to go into the boardroom. The boardroom should invite you for your capabilities and your contributions and the value add that you've done to the organization and how much of an asset you could be. All right. So that's one thing I want you guys to put your thinking caps on and start thinking on this aspect. And you guys are free to interact with me later on. But let me run through the presentation. We have a you know, strict time schedule to go. So HR, they say, is that they show a lot of authority and kind of, you may not have said, but then you post it as though that you're going to affect their bonuses or some belief or, you know, some kind of a benefit. That's the posturing. That's the kind of positioning that you do in the organization, or that's what employees infer from, you know, whatever our you know, behaviors are. Okay. They do not respect other people, expect their own bosses. They see in organizations, the HR guys just walk down to the bosses, talk to them, go back, and, you know, showing off air as though, you know, they're a very powerful guy, and they expect that others should flatter them, and they're great people. But if somebody asks us, you know, what is that you're contributing at the end of the year to the organization? We only have to say, hey, I've recruited so many people and, you know, managed all your salaries and all of that. But what is that shareholder value incrementally that you create? All right. So the next one is, we don't show as much empathy as an HR guy we should be showing, you know, even when employees are in distress. And that's one of the perceptions. All of these are from a survey. Yeah. And I'm showing all of these only to set the context for the HR scorecard. And mostly, we don't want to, you know, break the rules and create exceptions. So therefore, we follow the guidelines, which is fine. But what is also important is that we should ourselves and make other team leaders and managers create that human touch and people connect with the other team members. If you really want to build a high performance organization, if you want to retain your talent and have them perform at the peak levels. Extremely bureaucratic, rigid, and they're not people champion, because HR is not just a paid servant of the management, you know, organization. You're also supposed to be a people champion. So if you find that a certain provision or a procedure in one of your policies is a little you know, irritating, and there's so much of delay and it really doesn't serve the purpose. Because in some organizations we have policies, it looks like it's very rosy, you're going to really enjoy a lot of benefits. But if you look at all those conditions and all those riders, almost nobody could really take this. So that's what is in the next point. They look like mirages, you know, so near yet so far, kind of. So if there is anything in that policy, you got to really have a look at it and talk to the management and say, this is not really going to serve the purpose. It's this is not a very impacting policy. It needs a little modification. You've got to say it. Normally you shy that, you know, you shy that you only try to be goody-goody with the bosses and all of that. So if you're not doing this, you should start doing it. But I got a few more. The the customer, how to actually contribute to the customer. Let me also give you a little insight into where this scorecard thing started. Right in the 80s, Robert Kaplan and Norton, both of them, they had come up with a book called A Balanced Scorecard, which had 4 quadrants. It was customer, finance, internal processes, organization capital, which is about human capital and information capital. Yeah. So when they did this, it was really, it got a real beating, because it was not really aligned to the business strategy. It was not aligned to a HR strategy. There were just kind of 4 boxes. And since I also used to, be in action and working somewhere at that during that period, people used to say, hey, I know what's a balanced career. This box, you got to write a few KPIs and KRAs about how you're going to reduce the cost of HR. And here you got to write how internal customers you could appease with a 360-degree or something and get the positive perception, and internal process improvements with the talent management and recruiting on time and kind of things, and conducting your training and development. Those 4 boxes. What does it mean? It's not going to give any incremental value. That's why it's got a very bad beating. And then Dave Ulrich, with a couple of others, he came up with this book. You would have seen in my first slide, there was an image, a blue covered, it's a cover page of one of that particular book. And it's about connecting people, strategy, and the HR process. So it's everything is strategy aligned here. So here for the first time, so you have some set of strategic objectives, and those objectives, if you have to deliver, what are those processes or action plans you'll have to put in place and work on them and accomplish them, is something that would go into the scorecard. Then there would be those matrices to measure how successful you've been in each of that. So from then on, things have caught on. But today, Dave Ulrich, I guess you guys have heard his name. If not, I would strongly recommend that you read his book or go through his videos, which are very, very insightful, because he is these days called the father of modern HR. All right, so he's brought in a lot of value into the HR function if it's done properly. So today, what Dave Ulrich says is that you got to HR really has to see how is he making a customer's life superior and the shareholders' value. How is he creating additional shareholder value? So if you have to understand, if customer has some pain because of a people thing or a process thing or some alignment of both of that, then you got to really get into that. Okay, so the way I've been working, at least in the last couple of decades, is that wherever there's a pain in the organization, I get into that. The first thing I do is the processes, because if your processes are not matured, I'm not saying the HR processes, the entire enterprise-wide or plant-wise or corporation-wise, whatever, all the processes, they have to be very optimal. Because if your processes are optimal, then your people also are going to be optimal, and you would get to know what exactly are the workforce norms and the competencies required. Then your manpower deployment and the cost and the ROI on people is going to be very high. So that if not, it's just like, one of your peer would say, hey, I need another half a dozen guys into this particular testing skill or some QC or whatever, and then you would say, oh, the great thing that you could do is only negotiate, okay, why 6, now take 4 and all that. But that's no great deal. If you need 6, perhaps you need 6. So what you got to do is really evaluate what's the real need, what is needed, and you have to, in fact, get into keep talking to every HR function and try to find out what are the pains, how could they do better, what is the industry benchmark, and where are we now, and how could we get better, what support does he want. That's where you got to go, not just sitting in your cabin or your HR cabin or whatever. Okay, you have to really move out in the organization, and you should be the most knowledgeable guy. And all this comes when you understand business more than anybody else. That's one thing that's a setback, which is they say that HR doesn't know. anything understand about business. They just talk as if they know, and all that they know is only recruit or run your compensation. All right. So people think that we keep ourselves busy doing some trivial administrative tasks, and we feel that we are doing a great job at it, and but nobody feels that, okay, what's the great deal that they've done is what the other people in the organization. When I say people, I mean other employees and the other HODs also. Mind this. So after their bosses, they are the next stage lot. People leave organizations because of the bosses. They always have issues with the bosses. So after that, bosses, the next lot of people that they hate is HR. They say they do not have complete understanding of business. I already told that. They do not collaborate seamlessly with other functions. I already mentioned about it. You guys have to do, finish off your time, delegate, make your team very competent, and then move out and talk to other functions. Because the value that you create for other functions is something that you're not only aligning everything, but you're actually standing out, and you're going to be recognized in the organization for somebody who really adds value to every function. All right, employee engagement. In the name of employee engagement, especially in the IT sectors, fun at work, fun Fridays, all of that they do, and employees actually think these are time wasters. These are very absurd events. So you got to be very careful on doing this. You could do this. But see, try to find out. Okay, are there any equational issues between some two peers? Is there something which is going to be critical to the productivity? Okay, let's break the ice over there and try to design some kind of a fun activity which will get them closer and they understand better. If you're doing with these kind of objectives and purposes, it's fine if you're doing it. But otherwise, if you just think that, hey, this is a task every Friday, we got to do some tamasha and just do it, you're going to be a laughing stock in the organization. So you also need to understand what is the delivery capability of my organization, and what is it of my competitors, and how can I get that edge over the competitor? What capabilities should we augment? Then check with your CEO. Is that some talent thing that we have to get, or is it a process issue? Because talent and process you could really manage. If it's a technology thing, perhaps it's an investment issue. Then that is something that you should bring to the notice of, because just like you are busy with your work, your CEO is also busy with numbers, sales, deliveries, production, realizations. Okay. So the last one is this. One of the things is employees would like to, perform in a role that they're strong at, but we don't really care for that, because we have to actually do that. Identify the strength of every individual and give them a role based on that. So this is to set the context. So how do we do this? Like I told you, or as you see in this picture, there are some dots, the vision, mission of the company. What is the strategy, business strategy of this company, and where is the action plan, and how should the HR strategy and action plan be aligned to this so that the mission or the annual business plan is accomplished. Okay, I'm just trying to pave the way for the next slide. Okay, so this is the big thing. Please have a good look at this. This is a strategy map of an entire enterprise or for the entire business. You see on the left side, there are 4 perspectives, all right? Above every dotted line is one area. The financial perspective, the customer perspective, the internal perspective, and learning growth innovation also comes here. It's not here in this particular one. I hurriedly done this presentation, just picked up some images from the internet for ease. So when you go about this approach, the bottommost thing is that learning, growth, innovation. Okay, you got human capital, you got technology, information capital, technology capital, all of that. So what is it that gives improved shareholder value? You see on the top in the middle, it says improved shareholder value is the ultimate objective. Okay, and that can come only if you give a competitive advantage for the organization. Now, how does that happen? It happens when you build the competencies for the organization, right? if you build your competencies, the talent competencies, the technology competitions, then if your these capabilities are good, then your process performance improves. If your process performance improves, then the customer gets a perfect product, right quality, and if you're managing the customer relationship perfectly fine, then he's going to be delighted, and he's delighted. Financial perspective will automatically come, because this is the approach you should have. So HR guys, you should be very well focused on the bottom two quadrants. All right. So if the bottommost one, if you've done your job in giving the right talent and enabling, even talking to the other functions and see if you have some IT issues or technology issues, though the CEO may be knowing about it, but you should bring that to the notice, and you can contribute here, and then see how processes are optimized. All right. So for each organization, whether in a service organization or a project kind of a business or a production-oriented kind of a business, the internal process thing is good. Each one is valid. But if you look at it, all you have to do is only optimize the process, get more out of less, right? So for that, whatever is required, if you have some assets, plants, or if you're in a construction industry, you got a big asset base of 500 or 1,000 crores. What is that maximum coming out of that is also shouldn't be a concern. You should really, think like a CEO of the organization, because it's always I say it's people, process, and technology. Technology is dumb; you can just buy it, right? And processes are something that they're there, and you have to continually be focused on that to improve further and further and further, like the guys in Toyota do. The Toyota way is that they try to optimize and save on smallest screws and nuts and bolts, because that's that incremental value they try to create day in and day out. So continual improvements have to be there, and that's going to be there. But the most complex thing is the people side of business. You agree with me, I guess, because like I also already told you in the beginning of the session, that the will side is something that you could do. You could really, if you're really, creating a great culture. So culture, gentlemen, remember, HR guys are the ones who are supposed to be the custodians of culture. So building a high performance culture is the responsibility of the HR, of course, in tandem with the CEO and the other HRDs, but you should be driving it. If you see that in a particular work area, they're very lethargic, and you have a country club manager kind of leader. What's a country club manager? He's not focused on production. He's not focused on people also. He's more focused on people, not on production. Anybody wants to go on leave, even during a critical phase, he'll say, okay, you go enjoy. So it shouldn't be anything of that. So if there's anything like that, you'll have to really intervene. And also, if there's the reverse, if somebody is only a work sucker, a leader, then you'll have to say, hey, you got to really be people focused also. You can't be like that. So you have to actually go down, talk to these guys, not just talk, behind his back, but go to him and talk to him and counsel him. So, which is how you have to also build your counseling skills and all of that. All right. So, this is just to give you an overview on the construct of a scorecard. Okay, though for the HR scorecard, the construct is a little different, which is where we'll go now. So, what is a HR scorecard and how is it constructed? We'll have a look at it. The HR scorecard, by definition, is a strategic HR measurement system that will help you measure, manage, improve the strategic role of HR function. So, like I was telling you, if you have the right set of strategic objectives for your organization, and you write down whatever deliverable, whether it's a process level or whatever, then or creating policies or system alignment in terms of aligning all your processes with the strategy. What is the hierarchy, right? You have the vision on the top, which is a dream, and then comes your mission, which is an actionable kind of a thing, but it's short term. Earlier days, when I started my career, the vision and mission years now. but today it's just kind of 2 years because things are so volatile, things are so vibrant, technology coming in, a lot of disruptions everywhere. Now this Corona thing is another disruption. Trying to, this has brought in a total change in the orientation of business. All right, so that's very dynamic these days. So vision, mission, and then you have a strategy, strategic objectives, the strategic action plans. Then comes your tactical level. Below strategy is a tactical level. Then it's processes. So below processes, it is practices. Okay, then your tasks and activities. So that's a kind of a hierarchy right from the top. So right from the top at a strategy level till the activities or tasks, and everything has to be aligned. All right. Otherwise, somebody is going north and you want south actually. Okay. So it would be that way. So if you want to be really wiring up your strategy down till the last man in the organization into action, so this is the way to do. So it's not just for HR, for everybody else. If you have the balanced scorecard thing, it would be doing for everyone. So let's try to put a strategy map in this four financial perspective. I mean, these four balanced scorecard, balanced perspectives. Okay, you got learning and growing here. All right. One moment. Sorry. Okay, here we go. So here you have competency mapping, leadership assessment, alignment with execution, and what have we? Compensation based upon competencies, competency-based competency. These are the learning and growth areas. All right. So then comes your internal process, which is about onboarding. Try to improve the onboarding. Onboarding is very critical, especially organizations where they do a high level of recruitment, the onboarding process. Otherwise, it'll be just like you shut in people inside and then he's gone in the very second month or the third month. So the stabilization process, stabilization cycle for any new employee is kind of 9 months handhold and do the mentor buddy kind of a thing, whatever, and you have to continually improve upon that and try to experience they're getting at the workplace and try to improve upon that, because workplace experience is a very critical thing. Workplace is my first home. If you can really do that, you've done a great job. And we have to do it for everyone. Okay, hiring people to get talent to deliver your business plans and also to grow further and do the performance management, scoring, and customer management. Here the next box is actually it's about the internal customers. Okay, so how you're evaluating and developing and how incentives are given, what kind of a transparent methodology you have, and career advancement. All right, so then innovation processes are about coaching, mentoring, promotion. See, you don't have to really do all of this. You don't have to copy all of this. Think what are the pain points and top critical priorities of your organization, and try to fine tune those kind of a thing. Try to give a career ladder, make all your process very transparent and fair, and try to understand the pulse of people, have a human touch, deliver people on time. I mean, the recruitment. And these days, of course, the most critical thing is make your workplace safe. At the end of this, we're going to have a look at what are the top strategic objectives, and you'll see a safe workplace. People are really having jobs. You have a lot of jobs, a lot of guys who have lost their jobs. A lot of guys are still looking at, getting a job. It's almost a dream thing now to get a job. And those with confidence, it's very safe to go and work there. So that's the first perception that you have to work upon. Continually evaluate and see how we can improve that further and further. Okay, the customer here is actually not the external customer, it's the internal customer. So how satisfied is he, whether it's the employees or other HODs, and do they have a career plan? Do they get promoted? Is the compensation based upon what they have the performance and potential. It has to be linked to both, not just some, the bell curves and all of that, the forced choice methods, they've all gone. Even the performance appraisal process is taking a big hit now. Most of the top organizations don't have that anymore because they've lost credibility. You'll have to figure out how you can do it. There's something called a check-in system. Every week you have a meeting with a team member, and then you do a little record and consolidate all of that at the end of the month and end of the year, and that's a basic data for a reward. Okay, know the job, which is the training and the competency gaps and giving that, and excellent benefit package and administration. The financial thing is now on the productivity side is cut down costs, how you can optimize cost, not at the cost of delivery capability, but otherwise, and how you can reduce your employee turnover, and how you can optimize on your development costs, your learning and development costs, and onboarding costs, and especially the recruitment costs. This is one of the perspectives they can have a look at it. But typically, the HR scorecard is like this, long-term shareholder value, how you're going to drive and improve, how you're going to enhance your ROI or the HR, all the initiatives that you do, or for the kind of the size of a department that you have, or for that matter, the kind of increment that you want to claim for yourself. It depends on what kind of value kya kiya tumne. I mean, I'm sorry for the Hindi, but what have you delivered this year? So you'll have to be conscious about that. So the ideal thing is that you set those kind of objectives for yourself, set those targets and work on that, because at the end of the year, you're going to say, hey, I've done this. I deserve this. My team deserves this. Or I want a better team. I want a larger team, and I'm going to do these also. You'll be the better bargaining person, better negotiator on the table with your boss. All right. So employee productivity is something that you'll have to continue to look upon. It's not just your processes back home, the back office processes, but get into the work area. Work group is performing well, which is not so much. If they're not so much, then what's wrong? If it's a people thing, or what is it gone wrong? Do you have to rework in composition of that team? That's something. Positive work environment. This is a very intangible thing. I was telling you about this, creating a high performance culture, the will side of it. Make people really get excited, please, so that at 6 o'clock, instead of leaving, they'll say, hey, let me do this and complete it, go. Or they would come on a Sunday. They're so much committed. If you can really take them to that discretionary level, that's a great job done. And internal customer satisfaction, you have to understand the pulse of others, what they expect from HR, keep interacting, have the dialogue on with the other peers and the employees, and try to get the pulse through some feedbacks and surveys and all of that. But whenever, guys, let me caution you, if you do a survey, you will have to follow up with some genuine, authentic action. Otherwise, you lose the credibility, and the next survey you're going to have, a tough time. Also, your recruitment process is something that you'll have to always optimize. Delivering on time is one thing, but making sure that you're giving the right hire is also very important. So you'll have to continually work on improving your brand so that you are a better talent magnet. Develop strategic employee competencies. So what are those key critical competencies? Because in public sectors and yesteryears, there was a lot of training. These days, we don't have so much of butter, the surplus to spend or invest on training. It has to be fewer days, fewer hours, but it has to have an impact. If you have heard about the training effectiveness measurement thing, the Jack Phillip or the Kirkpatrick models, you'll have to see that at least you're getting into level 4 or level 5, which means you give a training and post-training productivity really goes up. Okay, so you'll have to make sure about that. So give only those and critical training. You can optimize and minimize your training programs, but keep that limited to that. All right, where you're going to impact is going to be high. All right, so, and there is also another theory that bet on your best horses. So if you want to give training and invest on that, give it to your best people, because they are most likely to give a superior performance post-training, instead of doing it very democratically across the board. That's another theory. So you can take a cue from this. If you think that you have limited resources on training, or your top management won't be willing to spend so much, they won't give you a big budget, then look at this, because you got to make impact. It's not just about conducting a set of programs, but it's about what's the kind of impact post training that you're giving to the organization. All your talent management project, that's across the people cycle, life cycle. All the, you'll have to fine tune them continually, which is making an impact, which is accurate, which is not. So what tweaking you have to do, you have to continually evaluate. Don't think that this is an age old a pick and kind of a thing, and you can't even dare to go and suggest a modification. You have to continually evaluate and see what's creating value, what is not. Your performance management system, I told you, don't just go with those 4 forms and some stupid assessments and all of that. Make sure you're getting very objective assessments, whichever way. Have an open mind. It's not necessary that you should definitely have a performance management system. See if you can see, and I mean, if you can come out with a better alternative, look at what other organizations are doing, like Accenture, Deloitte, and Amazon, and a lot of other organizations. They have shut down the performance appraisal kind of a system. They come up with alternative kind of a thing, which are less time wasters. They believe that 1/3 of a year is gone, but the organization focus on this only, coming up with very adverse kind of an outcomes and low impact. Okay, so enhance the capability of your own team, yourself and your team members, so that they're better off than what they were yesteryear, and have a very robust HRIS system. And yesterday, perhaps you had a program on analytics. So information flow is essential. Even for the scorecard, to measure how far have you come and all of that, you need to have some very genuine information flow, and how data is captured and all of that is very critical. Okay, because only with data you can really predict, analyze and predict what will get you where. All right. So this is about, let me just check on the time. Okay, got some time. Okay, so shareholder value, how are you going to give shareholder value growth? How it's going to be possible? You'll have to try to understand what if you do some tweak at your people process, or if there's something that you can do in terms of internal collaboration between a function, and bring in this, cross-functional, collaboration. If you can improve upon that, if that's going to create something, try to understand uh, where are we going wrong. At the end of the year, I'm doing a great job. Why is your bottom line and your profits not so great? Where are we eating up most of it? How can we do that incrementally? So one of the things is that you should really understand, guys, what is a balance sheet, what are the various stuff, what is the top line, what is the bottom line, what are your OPEX, and how you can make it look better and richer. Okay, you'll have to really understand that. If you understand that, come from there, then you would be doing a great thing. But have a card with you, whether it's formal, not formal, just keep a track of it, because it'll guide you continually where you headed, where you're heading, where you should head. All right. So what is the ROI of HR strategic programs and initiatives? It's not just enough if you do some training programs and some fun at work, and so some excursions for the families and a family day and all of that. You'll have to really look at what you should remember is that this is shareholders' money. Every rupee and every dollar that you spend, you got to make sure that there is some impact, some outcome out of that. You have to continue to look at your spend, including investment on your team. All right, don't just add on people. Try to improve the competences and try to get the best talent for the organization, not just for your organization, I mean your department, but for other departments as well. And make sure at the end of it, what's the profit per employee or revenue per employee, and compare it with the set those benchmarks which is best in the industry, which is your number one player in your particular sector or industry, and what is the profit per employee, what is your profit per employee, and where is everything getting eaten up? Is it in one function, one department, or overall? Or you got a wrong strategy, or you're getting all low capability talent, which is why you're going to do this. You get more people and not so great people. If that is the thing, then how to get great people but fewer people and reduce the cost, you'll have to work on that continually. Okay, so it's not just about giving, say, recruitment is not just about the closing sales. Typical sales guys at the grassroots level, they feel that, okay, I have to do 10 recruitments in this particular skill, I have to close this, okay, let me somehow close it. And they push and push and push and, you know, close. They minimize their efforts and they get complacent and all of that. But what's important is that you also should be participating in the recruitment process, and making sure that you're getting the best talent for the organization, because you're seen in the balance scorecard, the bottommost thing, which is the organization capital, which is building the foundation for the organization from your perspective, is getting the best talent that's available in the industry. It's not easy for everyone, because it depends on the kind of a employer brand perception that your company has. But then you have to work on that perception as well. Try to work, why is the brand perception not so good? Why don't people talk great about the organization? So find out those opportunities for improvement or the deficit areas and work on that. Try to convince your top management, invest on that. And every time you do that, show them the result that, okay, we have done this and now we are getting these people because they are liking our policies and all of that. So that's a continual thing. You'll have to work on that. It's not enough if you have just delivered your recruitment numbers or the other processes, but this is important. So you got to be very strategic now. All right. So create this work environment. First of all, forget about best place to work. Make it a very safe place to work these days, and make sure that this is fine. Because in my organization, since we had this lockdown and all that, being a pharma industry, we were working, and initially there was just about 50% who were turning up because fear of losing their job. Okay, but then we did all those things that any employer could do to make them feel safe. I myself, at this age, I used to drive kind of 60 kilometers to go to my workplace, and I spent the whole day there, and with a lot of pressure from home and the community, but still we withstood that, and we went along and we did that. And people now, after just 3 or 4 weeks, we were almost at the 85%, turnout. So even today, we still, since we have this, and it's even got worse than, it's got worse than it was in March or April. So you got to be even more careful. Make it a safe place, and from the heart. And if your management, somebody you think otherwise on, spending on that hygiene things, do convince them, because this is the confidence that we have to give. Some of those practices which you have seen the great Ratan Tata ji also reflecting, is that we shouldn't be actually sacking jobs or all those kind of things, because in an organization, especially in people intensive organization, everything is built on trust. They have trusted you and they're coming there. Even during Corona days, they're coming over there just to make sure that your business plans are on the dot, you're delivering on the dot. So everything goes trust, you see. So you can't say that, hey, I can't pay you now, you take a little less, when I get more money, you'll see. What about all the profits that you made earlier? Because I'm recommending that you should ask this question, you should have it in the back of your mind. You should put it very positively before your management. Sir, you should say that, sir, even during those years where we didn't pay increment or all of that, they are there with a very low salary. They have been working since long. They have been with us. We should not unnecessarily do this. There's a very temporary phase. We're going to pass it through, kind of thing. All right. So you should convince your management, but don't create the trust thing, because a trust is that very fundamental thing in building a high performance culture. All right. The excellent recruitment process, right on time, right hire. It's not just about hire. Make sure you're getting the right hire or the best hire available in the market. Okay, that's very important. Performance of new recruits, keep a tag on that, because through analytics, which are the sources that you got people, what's the kind of profile that you got people, and among them, who is performing great and who is not. Is it because of a team culture thing, the leader thing, or is it because his own capability, or is it because of the institute or the organization that he's come from? All of that. So you'll find out. So you'll get to know, okay, which is a better source to get and a better approach to get the best talent. Okay, the lead time to develop strategic competencies. Like I told you, you'll have to continually interact with your business leaders and the other functions to find out what are all those critical competencies, then come up with that. Keep your budgets optimal and make sure that whatever you're spending on learning and development is actually giving you some incremental business value. Talent management practices, make sure that everywhere you have a career ladder and a proper policy for that, very transparent, fair policy. And yeah, the best of talent and talent development. Everybody, there's a individual development plan for everyone as far as possible. If you have constraints of budget, try to do that on the best talent. And percentage of this could be one of the measures. Well, these are very indicative things. You should do it, based upon. Don't keep too many KPIs. Have a few of them, but top critical ones in your organization, customized for yourself. Whichever gives, more pain, or you think there's more critical at this point of time, have all of those, and slowly the following year you can have the others. So competency assessments, I don't know how much of that we are doing these days. If you've heard about assessment centers and development centers, I seldom see that these days, but if you're having that great practice, you should continue to have it and make sure that it's actually working very effectively. Year-end performance review, percentage of revenue develop individual development. Okay, it's more or less that. And then the social media thing is, you'll have to really work on that. See if you can have WhatsApp groups, and if you have your own internal portal, like an intranet, something to connect people, that will be a great initiative. Try to do that, because they're unlike in the 10 years back, it's very cost effective. You should be doing, have a social media thing of yours, but also before you go for that, make sure that you're actually covering your back properly, which is, if you have some very irritating policies and procedures, try to plug them in and make it clean before you get there, because you're going to be only exposed. And keep a look at glass doors and ambition boxes. What's the kind of feedback that people are talking about, at least when they leave, or an anonymous kind of a identity, without giving the identity. If people are talking about it, don't just rubbish them. It means something. It means that like I showed you in the first 2 slides, there could be one of those perceptions you'll have to work upon. But that could be one of the critical thing, the cause for employee attrition, which nobody likes. So here, I'm sorry, just in the presentation mode. Yeah. So this is another perspective. This is just by a scorecard. There are no perspectives here. You see on the left side, it's like a strategy map, the HR strategy map, and then the objective. I won't repeat all of that, because like I told you, it's going to be very specific to the organization. More, some of those things could be common, but you can pick and choose. I won't get into the detail now. We also have a constraint of time. This is just to show you the structure of a scorecard. So you have an objective and a strategy map. So this the second objective thing, the second column is actually a derivative of your strategy. Okay, and then based on that, you have a measure. Measure is like a unit. Okay, it could be time, it could be date, something, and then there is a target and initiative. I've got a better one in the following slides. Just trying to familiarize you with the structure. How you're going to draw your strategic objectives. Okay, so this is when it cascades down, which is, remember one thing: this HR scorecard, you can't have it for all the employees. So it's for the HR BP or the HR manager, somebody. They should be having it. And when you come down, you're going to have a KPI table like this, the KRAs and KPIs and weightage for that, for which one, based on the criticality of the particular KRA or the KPI, and what is the target, what is the actual. Then there is a weighted score you get, and then after the appraisal and the reviewing process, the final score, whatever. You can look at this. These are all indicative. There are a lot more of them you'll get on the web, but I'll show you one. This is something that I've been advocating, I've been practicing a little more complicated one, a little more detailed one. If you see, the first one is about a strategic objective, all right? Acquisition of right talent as planned, which means the plan is to get certain people on time, and you get them and you get the best talents, and that's about 20% important without any deviation. Zero deviation is a measure. So what are the things you're going to do? Last year, if you've not been very successful in doing it and you want to do a little better, then what are those initiatives that you want? Okay, those initiatives, you can make it as an action plan. Again, that you can keep it as a target. You can write 2 or 3 points in that, and for everyone, you can have a target. Okay, this I'll complete by 1st of September, this by December, and this I'll do 100%. All right. So measure is a unit of measurement, and then initiate. What is the action plan you're going to do? Is something that has to be discussed with your boss, and it's not always something like HR objectives. Like say this, the very first one, talent acquisition itself. You can't do this alone, right? The other functional heads should also be cooperating in this. Investing their time on assessment and all of that. Yeah, I've got 5 minutes more to complete. Fine, if that's a reminder. I'm getting there. All right. So how are you going to improve your talent retention? Again, you do an action plan. So all the best employees, you want to retain 100% of them, and others at least 90%. It can always be better. So what strategies and action plans you'll have, and what enabler is basically what support you want. And the last one actually is about how much it is at the end of it. So you can keep reviewing this month on month on month and see how it's getting better or worse. If there's some lag, how you're going to reinforce and do that. So that's a structure. And I'll just at the end quickly I'll come up with what are the top strategic HR objectives today, which you could put in the in your scorecard. All right. So having a safe workplace, already talked about it. If you have a provision for workplace, work from home kind of a modality, how you could actually do that for maximum number of people, your aged people, employees who are in maternity kind of a condition and all of that, how best you can do, and also the maximum number as well as how effectively you could do. It's not just you give them kind of a 50% holiday and sit at home and all that, but how to get the best of it. Is there a methodology for that? So you have to sit with the departments and do it. Okay, acquisition the right talent within time, enhance employer brand perception. Already talked about it. You try to find out what are all the gray areas, try to improve about them. If you're looking at a competitive advantage, then look at how you can be, a slice better than your competitor. Statutory compliance, of course, you should never miss out. It has to be 100%. And cost of talent force, you should be optimal. It should be at lower cost and even better competencies. Okay. Give them great experience, give employees a great experience, see how you could decode their happiness, what will actually give them happiness. So work on that and come up with an action plan and try to get an approval and work on that. Because ultimately, unless you give great experience to employees, they are not going to consider this as your first home or at least a second home. Enhance the employee connect engagement kind of a thing. You'll have to go to each team leader and try to figure out and talk to him if it's not that people focused, if it's not really taking care of engaging people or coaching them, take a note of it. And then have all your engaged talent on digital mode. Okay, so those who are working from home, engaging them, try to do team building. That's another challenge. So even at their one workplace itself, it gets a challenge. So here it's going to be even a little more. So you got to work on that. And enhance the impact of all your HR processes and systems. Do a continuous review and try to enhance the impact continually. It could be a little by little, but doesn't matter. Do that. Big changes are not accepted in the organization. Small changes, high impact, and convince them. You have to really digitalize all your processes because volumes will increase, and it's going to be really challenging for you to actually manage if you're not doing it. So incremental development of competencies, I already told you, how you should develop the competencies, keeping the budgets on hold, under control. And onboarding process, I told you, you've got to be really focused on that. It's not enough if you just recruit and shut and give your people there. Keep a tab on these people who have joined newly and make sure that they're really stabilizing and getting into the system. Try to improve this healthcare thing and the healthcare benefit that you provide to employees. It's not just enough to just kind of have some health insurance policy. Try to make it better and better. There could be there are limits on the room rents and various tabs and limited network of hospitals. All those things that are that you have to take care. Make sure that it's not just a namesake kind of a policy, but it's actually one of the best in the industry. And try to have a lot of this preventive health care programs like health talks and health checks, and building a high performance culture. That's a big thing, but that's something that you have to really start being friendly and nice with people, and make sure that everybody else is being nice with people. That will slowly evolve, and try to have figure out who is good in leadership and who is not, and have a reward and recognition program for that. Try to create a mobile platform these days. Like I told you, I already told about social media, using the social media platforms. Very proprietary kind of a things, your own, for your own company, if you could, nothing like it. Leadership development initiatives, it has to be, don't make it very, namesake kind of a thing. Just call a great trainer who's got a great name in the market and ask him to speak for 1 hour, but try to figure out what are all the opportunities for improvement or typical lag areas, and try to address those. Okay, I would strongly recommend that you very sooner or later you understand. You go through a leadership coaching program yourself and become a leadership coach, and because you have to ideally be coaching your CEO and HODs. That's a big thing today, but that's where you have to head. All right. So enhance the ROI of HR function. The first slides we saw, HR karta kya hai, what does HR do here? Why are they here at all, and only to mess up things and all of that. The perception has to go, and people should really adore HR function for the value that they're creating for the organization. I think with this, I close. Hope it was useful to you guys, and I think Professor Smaraki, this is a Q&A, so that's good. The Q&A section. Hello?
Dr. Smaraki?
Hello?
Dr. Smaraki? Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah. So, could you help me get onto the Q&A? Do we have some questions? Are we going to have people call or text or whatever?
So I can see a few questions. I would request Dr. Das to please coordinate. Dr. Das?
Yeah. Sir, there are 2 more questions are there.
Okay.
The first one is, as you mentioned head perception, can you guide on how to work on being approachable, easygoing, and transparent? This is asked by Soumya Sri.
Okay. So it has to come very naturally. If you don't have anything in your mind, once you enter your workplace and you think I'm HR and I'm going to sit on my throne or something, forget about that. Just think that you're going back to your college and you have friends, a lot of friends there. It doesn't matter if somebody is lower in a rank, 3 or 4 levels down, or somebody who's 2 levels up. It doesn't matter. Just interact with them very naturally. Be yourself. You don't have to wear a mask. Okay, don't wear a HR mask and say, hey, HR, so I shouldn't be talking too much. Because some of the beliefs that people have is that if I talk too much, I can't control people. That's wrong. Because if you talk a lot, because leaders have a lot of interaction with the employees, and that is when they get respected and loved. People do that, your team members do that extra effort only because you care about them. And, they can experience that you are caring about only when you interact and try to find out, how is everything at home? How is your mother now? She was unwell. She was to go for an operation. When are you planning it? Why don't you do it? Why are you delaying it? become a sister or a brother, and elder brother, elder sister, and to everyone. And all you have to do is, we have to be tough later, be very objective, don't get your emotions into play. You work on your emotional intelligence, and have your emotions on roll. If somebody is doing wrong, you don't have to really go loose and break down and shout and all of that. Just talk very objectively that this is not working. You have to work on this. So be very natural yourself, just like you're talking to another student or another person outside the workplace. Don't assume that you have another garb or a mask or something, and I should not be talking, and I should maintain that HRs, all of that. So, be very open, and then it works. Yeah. Next question, sir.
Thank you, sir. There is another one question from Anita Bhutani. Since HR is the key, go to the person for grievance, etc., what can an employee do if the very person is being a bully?
Who person? Can you please repeat?
Since HR is the key, go to the person for grievance, etc., what can an employee do if the very person is a bully?
Yeah, if he's bully, then he loses trust. No, he loses trust, then he will not even go there. He'll think that there's no use going to this guy, and better talk to a wall than this guy. And on the contrary, you'll have to face his bully and all of that. I can't tolerate that, but then let me go as long as I can get going. Or maybe if things get really bad, if I find another job, I'll go. That's the way. So bullying is really bad. If HR guys think that they are some superhumans and they can bully people, they can threaten and pressurize and all of that, you should come out of that. You should be, the most loved guy in the organization. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. There is another one question from Soumyasri Mahanti. Sir, how measurement or metric work in terms of survey from inputs received, and how it works as when employees don't provide right feedback, and to measure KPIs in terms of scoring HR from? Kindly suggest.
If they don't give the right feedback, see, the first thing is that when you do any survey, if it's a really oppressed kind of an organization, don't even dare for it, because if it's that bad, suppressed and oppressed kind of an organization, you will yourself know, okay, what are all the levers that are causing pain to the the employees. You'll get to know that. Or when you think that things are not so bad, but you should give it a try and try to understand. One of the whatever Gallup does or any other organization does is that give them that confidence. Employees, make your leaders also speak to them. Say that we are not worried about critique. We want you to criticize us. Come out openly on a critique because we want to improve and develop. You should tell them that, give them that confidence that the company is growing, we are going to the next level, but we want to actually improve the organization. And wherever there are some issues or challenges, we want that all of you should enjoy working here. So if there are some issues, whatever it is, please come openly so that we could improve on that. So you should give them that confidence even before you start a survey. Otherwise, you will get all those feedback. Typically, even your exit interviews are like that. Exit interviews, everything, nobody wants to, throw any shit over there because his full and final settlement is also pending, and he doesn't want to, burn a bridge or something. I think that baad mein, sometime I might need these guys, or this guy might be in some other organization. Let me talk nicely and move out. Anyway, I'm moving out. I got a better job. So that's very important. So if you're really doing an exit interview, you'll have to be very careful and try to give that confidence, whether it's an exit interview or a survey, give them the confidence to speak out the truth. Yeah. And action on that. If there is some input, if there is some feedback, and you have to definitely work on it, or tell them that this is not happening because of this constraint. But if you are just taking a survey and there are some suggestions or some feedback coming and you don't address that, you had it, because next time nobody is going to give you any authentic or genuine feedback. Yes, sir. Next question.
So thank you so much, sir. These were the questions.
Hello, sir.
Any questions,
Okay.
participants? Yeah, please ask.
Hello, sir. Good evening.
Yeah.
Good
evening.
The presentation was extremely good, sir. Thank you for the.
Okay.
Sir, what is
Thank
the
you.
main difference between HR scorecard, balance scorecard, and KPI? And where can we exactly apply this?
Okay. See, a balanced scorecard is actually at an enterprise level, which is at a business level completely. Okay, what is the capability of this organization in terms of people, in terms of technology, in terms of information capital, IT, and based on that, how you could improve your processes to make them most optimal. Okay, so you got the organizational capital building at the bottom, which is learning and development, innovation, talent, and information capital, technology. All of that is organizational capital. So once the organizational capital is there, your process performance will improve. Okay, it's supposed to improve because you have to leverage that capital. Whatever investment you have made on people and technology and all of that, you have to leverage by way of processes. So processes have to get better and better. And so which is actually alignment of technology and process, okay, and people. It happens at that second level. The next level is customer. If these two are working great and your relationship with the customer is good, then you did your job, then your finances are automatically taken care of. You asked if HR scorecard is typically for HR, for the HR function itself, or for the head of HR or the HR manager or the HRBP, okay, which is about how much is your HR strategy aligned to the business strategy. So if you had a balanced scorecard, you would that is created out of a set of enterprise level strategic objectives. So what are the HR objectives for that? So if one of the objective at enterprise level or a balanced scorecard level is to develop a particular talent, then to develop the talent, where do you have to do? Is it internally grown? Are you going to develop internally, or are you going to get from outside? So you're going to hire. So where is the best talent? So this HR strategy now is aligned to the business strategy. And then you'll have to work on the process and how are you going to get those people. Okay. So that is that. KPI is key performance indicator. That you have an action plan on every objective. For every objective, you need to have an action plan. So what is that? How do you measure that? That you have done a great job by designing an action plan, and that is an indicator. That's the measurement. Okay. So say your talent retention is now 80% and you want to make it 90%. So, okay, that's an objective. So the KPI is to achieve 10% incremental retention. So to improve that, what are those things that you have to do? You'll have to find out those levers and then action plan and keep measuring through the year. And at the end of the year, you wanted to improve 10%. Maybe you did 12, 15%, or maybe you just did 2%. It depends on that. So when you do these monthly reviews, you can figure out what is working, what strategy and what action plan is working, what is not working. So you can tweak. So this is like driving a car and having a frontal view and not having a rear view kind of an approach. If you have already hit a dog or a cat on the way or a person on the road, it's already gone. There's nothing you can do about it. But since you have a rest of the road to catch up with, what is it you have to do so that you don't hit another dog on the road? So this gives you that. It works as a perfect dashboard for you to review. So balanced scorecard is at an enterprise level or a business level, complete business. HR is a subset of that, and KPI is actually an indicator, key performance indicator, how well or not so well you've done. You've performed on one of those action plans against an objective. Yes, sir. Is there another one?
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Any more questions? Any more questions from
Yes.
participants?
Please, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for these wonderful presentations.
Thank you, sir.
We are really thankful to you. At least you could spare some time to share before the audience. And hopefully all the audience are really benefited out of your presentations today.
That you have to give me that feedback.
For being with us. And I also thank Dr. Smaraki Pattanayak for our cooperation and coordination, and I thank all the participants today. Thank you so much. And on 17th, we will be having another session on managing remote work by Dr. Gabriel Warren from Bemidji State University, USA. So till then, thank you so much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, and thank you, ASBM, for this very innovative. I'm very sure that all the participants would have benefited out of it. And all the best to you, and hope you keep coming up with more such initiatives. Thank you. Thank you, Professor Smaraki and Dr. Biswajeet Pattanayak. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.